The signal in the void. The void of space was silent, too silent. Stars burned as they always did, yet across the endless dark came a single cry, weak and broken. It was not a sound, but a transmission, bouncing from relay to relay, seeking anyone who would listen. The alien voice inside the signal was desperate. "This is the Carrion Dominion. Our worlds are burning. Our fleets are falling. If anyone hears this, please help. We cannot hold them back." Static swallowed the last words, leaving only silence behind. In the great centers of power across the galaxy, the signal was heard. The high councils of different empires gathered, their faces pale, their voices full of fear, but none moved to answer. The enemy tearing apart the Carrions was too powerful, too ruthless. To help was to invite destruction. So they looked away. One by one, the great empires ignored the call, pretending they never heard it. But far from their polished halls, on the edge of a forgotten arm of the galaxy, the signal touched a world no one expected. It reached Earth. The transmission arrived at an old listening post buried deep beneath the ice of Antarctica. Operators stared at the screen as alien symbols and broken words scrolled across. For a long moment, none spoke. Then one man whispered, "It has begun." Humanity had waited for this. Generations of silence were not weakness, they were preparation. The galaxy believed humans were gone. A lost race of savages who once fought too hard, too wild, too dangerous, but in truth, Earth had hidden itself, rebuilding in shadows, forging weapons and fleets beyond imagination. They were Deathworlders, born from the harshest planet, and they had never forgotten the last time the galaxy betrayed them. The signal spread across Earth's secret network. Command bunkers came alive. Alarms echoed under oceans and mountains. Giant hangars opened as long, silent engines roared back to life. Warships, black as night and marked with the symbol of Earth, lifted from their hidden docks. For centuries they had slept, waiting for the right moment. The SOS was the spark, and now the storm was awake. On the other side of the galaxy, the Carrions still cried out. They watched their skies burn as enemy fleets darkened their suns. They believed no one was coming, but far away in the void, something stirred. A fleet, older than most empires, armed with weapons no alien mind had dared to design, began to move. Each ship was built not just for war but for dominance. Rail cannons longer than cities hummed with power. Drone swarms like steel locusts waited to be unleashed, and deep in the heart of the lead carrier, a voice prepared to speak for humanity. Across the galaxy, the SOS relay flickered again, but this time there was an answer. The voice that came was cold, steady, and terrifying in its calm. "Your SOS is heard," it said. "The Deathworlder Fleet awakens." The words spread like wildfire. Across empires and star systems, whispers turned into screams. Some laughed nervously, claiming humans were myths. Others shuddered, remembering old wars when Deathworlders fought until nothing remained. Even the enemy who was burning Carrion worlds paused, sensing something had shifted. In the void, engines lit up like 1,000 new suns. Earth's warfleet broke from its long silence, carving through space with precision. They were not here to ask permission. They were here to answer a call no one else dared to answer. On Carrion's last stronghold, survivors huddled in bunkers believing the end was near. Children cried in the dark as the enemy's war machines stomped across their cities. Suddenly the sky trembled. Sensors screamed warnings, not of the enemy, but of something greater. Shadows stretched across the burning skies as ships larger than mountains appeared above. They came without banners of mercy, only the symbol of Earth burning bright across their hulls. For the first time in centuries, humanity revealed itself to the galaxy. And they did so not with words of peace but with the thunder of war. The Carrions lifted their eyes, hope and terror mixing as they saw the impossible. The Deathworlder Fleet had come, and the void itself seemed to tremble. Ghosts of Earth seemed past the galaxy remembered fragments of old stories, stories of humans, stories whispered like curses. They were called Deathworlders, survivors of a planet so cruel that most alien species would not last a single day there. But to many, Humans were only myths now, forgotten like dust on a broken star map. The truth was different. Humanity had never died, never vanished. They had withdrawn. After the last great war, when the galaxy betrayed them, humanity turned inward. They stopped answering calls, they shut their borders, and they built in silence. While other empires rose and fell, Earth dug deeper, forged stronger, and waited. Now the SOS had stirred, them awake, and the galaxy felt the weight of their return. Aboard the command ship Iron Resolve, Captain Darius Kane stood tall, his eyes fixed on the endless black outside. The crew around him worked in silence, their hands steady, their faces calm. Every soldier knew the legends. Every pilot understood the burden. They were not just a fleet. They were the ghosts of Earth's past, risen again to remind the galaxy why humans were feared. In the council halls of the Galactic Union, panic spread like fire. Ambassadors shouted, their voices sharp. It cannot be true. Humans were destroyed. Centuries ago, one cried. Even if they exist, their fleet cannot stand against the sovereign armada, another argued. But deep inside, each of them knew the stories. Stories of human soldiers who fought until the last breath. Stories of ships that rammed enemy carriers even when their weapons failed. Stories of a people who never surrendered. The Union feared one thing above all. If the humans were back, then no one was safe. Because humans did not fight for balance or politics, they fought for survival, and survival made them unstoppable. In hidden archives locked away for centuries, records of Earth's last war flickered. Images of burning skies, broken fleets, and human marines charging across alien trenches with fire in their eyes. The galaxy had buried those memories, but the SOS had dug them up again. Back aboard the Iron Resolve, Captain Kane turned to his communication officer. "Send the fleet order," he said, his voice steady like stone. "All units advance. Formation. Sigma 9. The order rippled through space, and hundreds of human ships shifted as one. Their engines glowed like fire, cutting through the void with terrifying precision. The carry-ons, still trapped in their dying cities, looked up in awe as the first human ship blotted out the burning sun. Its shadow stretched across the ruins, so massive that alien soldiers froze in their tracks. The humans had returned, and their silence was louder than any war cry in the enemy. "Command vessel," Lord Varesh of the Sovereign Armada sneered. He had heard the rumors, the whispers of Deathworlders. "Children's tales," he growled. "We will crush them like we crush all things." He ordered his fleets forward, thousands, of ships forming a wall of fire, but deep inside, even Varesh felt something clawing at his chest, an ancient fear he could not name. The first clash came fast. Human ships moved with ruthless precision, railguns firing slugs at near-light speeds, enemy shields cracked and shattered like glass. Drones poured out from human carriers in black waves, cutting through enemy formations like blades through silk. Aliens who expected weak resistance instead faced weapons that tore apart entire cruisers in a single strike. On every channel across the galaxy, the battle was broadcast. Billions watched as humans revealed their strength. A single human destroyer cut through an enemy line of 20 ships, its weapons screaming across the void. On alien worlds far from the war, children cried and rulers trembled. The Deathworlders were not a myth. They were real, and they were awake. Inside the Iron Resolve, the crew felt no fear. They were Deathworld born. The galaxy's cold void was not harsher than the storms of Earth. The crushing seas, the burning deserts, the freezing ice of home had prepared them for this. Every battle, scar on Earth had forged them, and now the galaxy would feel the weight of that legacy. In the council halls, one ambassador whispered what others feared to speak aloud. "If humanity has truly returned, then the balance of the galaxy is broken." Another whispered back, voice shaking. "No, not broken, shattered." Back on Carrion's surface, a small group of survivors watched from underground shelters. One child pointed at the sky where the human fleet tore apart the armada. "Who are they?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Her fathers." Reply was simple but heavy. They are Deathworlders, child, and the galaxy will never be the same again. The signal that began as a whisper of desperation had awakened ghosts, ghosts of Earth's past. And these ghosts did not come with mercy, they came with fire. The first clash. The void shook as two forces faced each other. On one side, the Sovereign Armada stretched like a wall of fire across the stars. Thousands of ships in tight formation, engines burning bright. On the other side, the human fleet, advanced in silence, massive warships moving with the calm patience of predators, their black hulls swallowing the starlight. The carry-on survivors watching from their broken world held their breath. They had seen battles before, but never like this. The enemy always filled the sky with noise and chaos, overwhelming with numbers. But the humans moved differently. No wasted motion, no fear, no hesitation. Captain Darius Kane stood at the bridge of the Iron Resolve, his face unreadable. Enemy fleet charging weapons, his officer reported. Kane gave a small nod. Hold, he said, voice steady. The crew obeyed without question, their hands poised, waiting. The enemy laughed across, comms, their voices sharp with arrogance. Deathworlders, one commander sneered. You hide behind myths and shadows. Today you die with your toys. The Armada opened fire first. Thousands of energy beams cut across the void, a storm of light brighter than suns. The carry-on survivors gasped as the human fleet disappeared into the fire. But when the light faded, the humans still stood. Their armor had held, their shields humming like thunder. Now, Kane ordered. The sky split, rail cannons roared, their slugs ripping through space faster than thought. Each impact was a sun exploding, tearing enemy cruisers in half. Drone swarms burst from hidden bays, black clouds that cut through enemy formations with surgical precision. Alien ships crumbled, their crews screaming into silence as one by one they were torn apart. The Armada commanders shouted in disbelief. This is impossible. No weapons should pierce our shields. But human weapons did more than pierce. They shattered. Every strike was merciless, every shot precise. The Armada's numbers meant nothing before the Deathworlder firestorm. The galaxy watched, their screens filled with the impossible sight. One human destroyer, the Vigilant Spear, charged into a cluster of enemy ships. Its railguns unleashed a wave of fire that destroyed 5 vessels in seconds. When enemy ships tried to surround it, the spear rammed the nearest cruiser, splitting it in two as its own hull burned. Even in destruction, humans turned death into victory. On carry-on surface, a young soldier stared at the sky with wide eyes. Are they gods? He whispered. His commander shook his head, his voice shaking. No, worse. They are humans. Inside the Iron Resolve, Kane remained calm. Report, he said. Enemy losses. Too many to count, sir, came the reply. Kane's gaze stayed on the burning horizon of stars. They will break soon, he said, but we will not. The Armada's leader, Lord Varesh, slammed his claws on his command throne, his face twisted with rage. These are no warriors, they are monsters, he snarled. Yet deep in his heart, the old fear grew stronger. He had studied history. He knew fragments of the wars humans had fought before. Now he understood why empires feared their return. The clash raged on. The Armada sent wave after wave, but the human fleet cut them down like hunters clearing prey. Every drone swarm returned with fewer losses than expected. Every rail slug found its mark. The humans fought as though they had rehearsed this moment for centuries. And in truth, they had. In the council chambers across the galaxy, leaders sat. Frozen as the battle reports arrived, one whispered, "They were hiding this whole time." Another replied, "No, they were waiting." Carry-on civilians hiding underground heard the battle shake the skies. Some prayed to their gods. Others simply listened in silence. When the first enemy wreckage crashed into their deserts burning bright, they realized something. The humans were not just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for the cry that had called them. As the Armada's ships broke and scattered, Kane finally spoke. "Transmit to the enemy," he ordered. The comms officer opened the channel. Kane's voice echoed across the void, calm and cold. "This was your first mistake," he said. The channel closed and silence returned. The Armada fled, leaving wreckage and broken fleets drifting in space. The carry-ons lifted their eyes, their hope rekindled. But deep inside, they wondered if they had called something even more dangerous than the Armada, for the humans had answered. And when Deathworlders answer, the galaxy changes. Allies in fear. The galaxy did not sleep after the battle. Across thousands of systems, screens replayed the impossible images. A single fleet of humans tearing through the Sovereign Armada, warships that should have been invincible shattered like glass. The whispers began, spreading faster than light. The Deathworlders have returned in the chambers of the Galactic Union. Panic drowned reason, ambassadors shouted, their voices filled with fear. They destroyed a sovereign fleet in one strike, one cried. Do you not understand? If they march across the stars, no empire can stop them. Others argued, trying to calm the storm. Perhaps they will ally with us, some said. But the word ally tasted like poison, because everyone knew. Humans did not ally. Humans demanded. Loyalty, and loyalty given to Deathworlders could never be broken. In the carry-on shelters, survivors huddled close as reports filled the air. Some wept in relief, believing salvation had come. Others whispered in fear, wondering what price the humans would demand. They saved us, one elder said. But the galaxy has always feared what comes after humans save. On the command bridge of the Iron Resolve, Captain Kane listened to the chatter from alien worlds. Fear is spreading faster than truth. His officer said. Kane nodded, his face carved from stone. Good, he replied. Let them fear. Fear will keep them from standing in our way. The fleet moved forward, not back. Where most armies would retreat to celebrate victory, the humans pressed deeper into the void. They moved with purpose, answering not to councils or treaties, but to their own command. Every planet they passed fell silent, watching the black ships move like predators across the stars. In the high palace of the Sovereign Armada, Lord Varesh roared in rage. His commanders bowed low, trembling as he cursed. They were supposed to be myths, ghosts, nothing more, he spat. Yet none dared correct him, because every commander had seen the truth. The ghosts of Earth were real, and they had returned with fire. But fear did not only live among enemies. Potential allies now debated in secret halls. The Zolari Syndicate, known for greed, whispered about trade with humans. If they protect us, our worlds could thrive under their shadow, they reasoned. The Arkan theocracy, zealots of their sun god, hissed in fury. They are demons, one priest shouted. If they rise, our faith will be broken. Yet beneath the shouting, one question haunted all. If humans demand loyalty, will we bow? Back aboard the Iron Resolve, Kane's fleet intercepted another carry-on transmission. The survivors begged again, their voices cracked with exhaustion. We will give anything, they said. Only do not leave us. Do not abandon us to the Sovereign. Kane closed his eyes for a long moment before answering. You called and we answered, he said. But loyalty is not free. If you stand with us, you live under our protection. If you refuse, then you face the void alone. The message was clear. The carry-ons accepted at once, their desperation leaving no room for choice. Across their broken world, survivors raised the banner of Earth beside their own. For them it was survival, but for the galaxy, it was the first sign of something greater. The first empire to kneel under humanity's return. In the council chambers, voices rose again. They are building an army of allies. One ambassador said, fear dripping from every word. Not allies, another whispered, subjects. The silence that followed was heavy. Everyone in the chamber understood what it meant. The galaxy would soon have a new order, one not built on treaties, but on the iron oath of Deathworlders. The Armada tried to rally, sending more fleets into carry-on space, but each time they came, the humans met them with fire. Every battle ended the same way. Wreckage drifting cold through the void. The carry-ons watched in awe as their saviors carved victory after victory. But deep inside they wondered, when the wars ended, would they be free? Or forever chained to Earth's will? Children on alien worlds asked their parents what the humans were. The parents whispered truths they did not want to say. They are not like us, they murmured. They are Deathworlders. They are the storm that never stops. And in the darkest corners of the galaxy, old enemies remembered scars. They had fought humans once, long ago. They still carried the wounds, and they knew one truth above all. The galaxy had always feared humans, but now the galaxy would obey them. Fire across the stars. The galaxy burned. Wherever the Deathworlder Fleet moved, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. Their black warships cut through the void like blades, their engines glowing like fire. The sovereign armada tried to resist, sending fleet after fleet, but each battle ended the same way, wreckage drifting cold through space. On Carrion, survivors watched the skies in awe. Every day they saw new wreckage fall from above, pieces of enemy ships burning bright like meteors. For them, it was salvation, but for the galaxy, it was a warning. Humanity was not just defending, they were conquering. Captain Darius Kane stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, his eyes sharp, his voice steady. "Next target," he ordered. A screen lit up with coordinates of a sovereign fuel station hidden in the void. The fleet moved at once, no hesitation, no delay. Where other empires debated, humans acted. The attack came swift. Enemy patrol ships blinked in confusion as shadows fell across their scanners. Before they could react, rail slugs cut through, them tearing their vessels apart. The station's defenses opened fire, but the humans adapted instantly. Drone swarms twisted through enemy fire, slipping between beams, slamming into turrets, ripping them out like claws from flesh. Within minutes, the station was gone, swallowed in flame. Reports spread like wildfire. "Entire sovereign outpost destroyed in under an hour," alien broadcasters cried. "No losses reported for the humans." Every empire watched in silence, fear tightening around their hearts, but the fire did not stop. The humans pressed onward, system by system, battle by battle. Wherever they arrived, the sovereign armada fell back. On one world, a single squad of human marines fought an entire battalion of enemy soldiers. The battle was over in minutes. Witnesses swore each marine moved like a storm, relentless, unstoppable. Legends grew. "One human equals 100 soldiers," they said. "To fight one is to fight death itself." In the great halls of the council, leaders argued again. "We must stop them now," one cried, "before the humans take the galaxy for themselves." Another shook their head, their voice trembling. "How? Even the sovereign cannot stop them. What hope do we have?" The hall fell silent because deep down they all knew the answer. None. In the Arkan theocracy, priests raised their voices to the stars. "They are not mortals," they cried. "They are demons sent from a cursed world, a test of our faith." But their words found no comfort, because even the most faithful had seen the transmissions. They had seen Deathworlders fight, and no prayer could erase the terror of that sight. Meanwhile, the Carrions began to rebuild under human protection. For the first time in decades, their skies were free of enemy ships. But they noticed something unsettling. Every major decision, every defense order, now came from Earth's fleet. Their own leaders were ignored. Their own armies stood in silence, watching as humans took command. Some Carrions celebrated, calling it salvation. Others whispered in secret, "This is not freedom, this is rule." Back aboard the Iron Resolve, Kane listened to a report from another front. "The Sovereign are collapsing, sir. Their fleets cannot hold against our strikes." Kane nodded slowly. "Then we press harder," he said. "They must learn that when humans rise, no star is safe from our fire." In the Sovereign Palace, Lord Varesh raged again, but his commanders no longer roared with him. Their eyes were empty, their voices low. Some whispered of surrender, others of retreat, but none spoke of victory because the truth was clear. Against the Deathworlders there was no victory. Children on faraway worlds gathered around glowing screens. They watched humans stride across battlefields with armor, dark as night. They listened to the thunder of human war machines, and though their parents tried to hush them, the children whispered, "I want to be like them." Fear turned to legend turned to awe, and awe turned into something worse. A quiet acceptance. The galaxy began to realize that resistance was useless, that soon fire across the stars would not just be war, it would be the new order. The humans did not slow, they did not rest, and they did not ask. Everywhere their fleet went, the galaxy followed in silence, because the Deathworlders had returned, and they carried not peace, but fire. The price of mercy, the fires of war burned bright across the stars. Everywhere the humans went, victory followed. The Sovereign Armada was collapsing, their fleets broken, their generals defeated. But while the galaxy watched the battles, another truth was spreading. The humans were not saviors, they were rulers. On Carrion, survivors looked at, the banners now flying over their rebuilt cities. Earth's symbol stood beside their own, but it was always higher, always brighter. When Carrion leaders tried to give orders, human commanders spoke louder. When Carrion soldiers tried to patrol, human marines walked first. Slowly, without chains, without prisons, the Carrions realized they were no longer free. They had traded death for survival, but survival came with a price. In the council halls of the Galactic Union, debates raged day and night. "We must resist," one ambassador cried. "If we bend now, there will be no end." Another shook their head, fear heavy in their voice. "You do not understand. Resistance means extinction. Humanity offers survival, but only on their terms." The word spread like poison through every world. The price of mercy is loyalty, on the iron resolve. Captain Kane stood over the tactical table. Reports came in from dozens of fronts. The Sovereign Armada was retreating deeper into their territory. But Kane's focus was not on the enemy. It was on the rescued worlds. "Another plea, his," officer said, handing him a transmission. The people of Vera, another empire under attack, begged for help. Kane listened in silence, their voices breaking, their children crying. When the message ended, he gave the same answer he had given. To the Carrions, "We will protect you," he said. "But you will live under Earth's law." The Varans agreed instantly, desperation leaving no room for refusal. One by one, more worlds bent the knee. They saw the fire, they saw the rail guns, they saw the endless fleets, and they bowed. Because mercy had a price, and the price was obedience. Among the humans there was no debate. To them this was not cruelty, it was survival. They remembered the betrayals of the past, when they had once fought for the galaxy, and the galaxy had abandoned them. Never again, Kane swore. This time, humanity would not save and leave. This time, they would save and rule, but not everyone accepted. On some worlds, leaders resisted, refusing to kneel. When humans arrived, they left those worlds to face the Sovereign alone. The result was always the same: fire, destruction, silence. And soon the message was clear to all. Without Earth, you die. In the hidden chambers of the Sovereign Palace, Lord Varesh heard the reports. He laughed bitterly, his voice hollow. "They are not liberators," he spat. "They are conquerors." But his commanders said nothing, because even in his rage they knew his words were true. The humans were building something greater than victory. They were building an empire of survivors bound by fear. On Carrion, a young girl asked her father a question. "Why do we obey them if we are free now?" She whispered. The father looked at the sky, where human ships hovered like shadows over their world. "Because, child," he said, "their mercy is stronger than any chain. We live because they let us live. In distant systems, alien rebels whispered in the dark. Maybe the Sovereign are not our greatest enemy," they said. "Maybe it is the Deathworlders." But none dared to speak it aloud, because to speak against humanity was to invite fire. Inside the iron resolve, Kane gave his final orders for the day. "Send the message across all channels," he said. The comms officer nodded. transmitting his words to every world that could hear. "When you cry for help, we will answer," Cain said, his voice cold and steady. "But never forget, the price of our mercy is loyalty." The message echoed across the galaxy. Some received it with hope, others with dread. But none could ignore it, because the Deathworlders had set their law in the stars, and the galaxy was learning that mercy, in the hands of humans, was the sharpest weapon of all. The Deathworlders' oath. The galaxy was silent. World after world had watched the sovereign armada collapse under human fire. Planets once doomed to ashes now stood alive, saved by the Deathworlder Fleet. But salvation had never come free. Every survivor now lived beneath Earth's shadow, their banners lowered, their voices quiet. In the palace of the sovereign armada, Lord Varesh knelt, his armor broken, his pride shattered. Before him stood Captain Darius Cain, the commander of Earth's fleet. Around them, the ruined throne room smelled of smoke and blood. Varesh growled through cracked teeth. "You are not saviors," he spat. "You are conquerors." Cain's eyes were cold as steel, his voice steady. "Call us what you will, but remember this. When you begged for help, only humans answered." The surrender was signed in silence. The sovereign armada, once the terror of half the galaxy, now bent under the weight of humanity's return. Across the stars, transmissions carried the news. The armada was broken, Earth had risen, and the galaxy trembled. But Cain was not done. On the iron resolve, he called for a broadcast, one that would reach every corner of the galaxy. The comms officer patched the signal through. Cain stood before the screen, his figure sharp against the burning glow of war. His words were measured, his voice calm, but every sentence carried the weight of thunder. "When the galaxy cried for help, you were silent," he said. "When the weak begged, you turned away." He paused, letting the silence stretch. "But humanity does not turn away. We do not ignore the cries of the dying. We hear and we act." His eyes narrowed, his tone colder. "Yet know this. Our mercy is not weakness. Our strength is not kindness. When we rise, we do not rise for you, we rise for survival, and survival demands loyalty." The message struck like fire. On alien worlds, rulers sat in silence, unable to argue. On refugee planets, survivors wept, some in gratitude, some in fear. The oath was spoken, and it could not be undone. Across the stars, the humans repeated Cain's words in their own way. Marines swore it as they lifted their weapons. Pilots whispered it as they strapped into their cockpits. Even children on Earth, safe under hidden skies, learned it as a promise. "When you cry for help, we will answer. But you will never forget the price." The galaxy shifted. Old alliances crumbled. New banners rose. Planets once proud now bent beneath the shadow of Earth's fleet. Some called it salvation. Others called it conquest. But no one dared to deny the truth. The Deathworlders were not a myth, not a whisper, not a legend. They were here, awake and unchallenged. On Carrion, a young girl who had once cried in fear now stood tall. She watched human ships streak across the night sky. "They saved us," she whispered, "but they will never leave." Her father placed a hand on her shoulder, his eyes heavy. "That is the way of Deathworlders," he said. "When they give their oath, it binds the stars themselves." In secret corners of the galaxy, rebels and rulers plotted. Some dreamed of resistance, some whispered of revenge. But in their hearts they knew the truth. No rebellion could survive, no vengeance could succeed, because the humans had sworn their oath. And Deathworlders never broke what they swore. On the bridge of the iron resolve, Cain looked out at the endless void. The fleet was not returning home. Already new cries for help filled the channels, desperate voices from worlds under siege. Cain gave his order without hesitation. "Set course," he said. We moved to the next system. Engines roared like thunder. The fleet turned, black silhouettes against the burning stars. They did not move like saviors nor like invaders. They moved like a storm that would never stop, and across the galaxy, one truth burned brighter than all others. The Deathworlders had spoken their oath. The galaxy would live by it or die by it.